Welcome to the Revo Report. We're inspiring faith with reason and reason with faith. The recent X-ray?
WAXS, the
Yes.
WAXS dating, yes.
That was just recently, right? Is that a few
2020
months ago?
I mean, it kind of
couple
made
of years ago, yeah.
rounds on social media a couple of months ago, but it's a couple years old.
Right. And that one dates it back to at least the first century, doesn't it? We have a giveaway announcement today. We will be giving away Surviving in an Angry World by Charles Stanley, the Bible Study Teacher's Guide, right there, Bluetooth headphones right over here, open ear, very comfortable. And also we will be giving away this very cool old school analog watch. All you need to do is be subscribed, like this video, comment down below, and we will do a random draw next week to see who the winner is. Make sure to also hit that bell notification to be notified because we will announce it in one of our videos next week. All right, let's get back into it.
Yeah, so this is the WAXS is a technique that is not new, but it has not been used to date textiles before. So that's the thing that kind of needs to go through peer review to see if the scientific community fully embraces the results. But this is the novel use of it, the innovative use of this technique. So what it does is it measures the degradation of cellulose in the linen. And it doesn't assign a date to it. It just kind of assigns a degree of degradation of the cellulose. So in order to get any kind of date, what you have to do is have other pieces of linen of known dates and compare them when you do the WAXS testing to that. It's the wide angle X-ray spectroscopy is what WAXS is. So what they do is they've got a piece of linen from the 2000s and one from the Middle Ages, like the 1300s, one from about 500. They have one from Masada, which is from about 55 to 74 AD. And then they had a piece of linen that's like a 3000 BC Egyptian burial cloth. And when they did the tests on all of those cloths, the shroud matches almost exactly the one from Masada from the first century. It's almost identical. And so that's the best you can say. You can't say it absolutely proves it's from the first century. You can say that's the one it most corresponds to.
Right. Gotcha. That's incredible. Have you done a story on the headcloth?
Yeah, that's what the latest book is.
Okay.
It's called The Invisible Thread, and it focuses mainly on the Sudarium, but it and of course the importance is how it connects to the shroud. So you get there's a lot of books on
that
the
is so
shroud,
cool.
so I wasn't going to go anywhere new with that, but tying it to the Sudarium, that's something that it's this fascinating artifact that not a ton of people know about.
Yeah, and even as you were sharing that, I was thinking, oh man, this would make such an interesting book. Wow, I gotta read that because that sounds like an adventure, and just you kind of laying it out on the conquest and the raids of the Muslims, and then them having to go up and hide it and secure it. It's that's fascinating. It's just imagine. Yeah.
The quick story around its history, as far as we know, was written by the Bishop of Oviedo in the 11th century, and he says, he traces a few different historical documents for it. There's not a ton because I mean, it was probably in a chest of other relics, and there was no real name for it because a Sudarium is just a sweat cloth. This is something that Romans carried around in the first century in the parts of the empire that were sweaty and dusty. So you just had like a sweat rag, is kind of like the thing you see quarterbacks have so they can dry their hands off. That's what it was. It was that kind of thing. It was like a towel in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy where you just carry it around and use it for whatever you needed. And it's about the size of a pillowcase, the one that's in Oviedo, but there's no real standard thing to it. Burial shrouds were a certain thing, and a Sudarium was just kind of like, hey, hand me that rag, so I can wipe the sweat off. But so it's harder to find the documentary evidence for it. But what Paleo found, this bishop from Oviedo, is that there's a tradition that the disciples of the apostles made a chest and they put artifacts in it, including the headcloth. And that chest was kept in a cave along the Jordan River, near where John the Baptist had his ministry, and it was guarded by a series of 7 nuns, and it stayed there for about 500 years. And then when the Persians
Wow.
came to conquer Jerusalem in 614, they moved the chest out of there and they took it to North Africa, probably Alexandria, Egypt. And 2 years later, the Persians invaded Egypt, and so they put it on a boat and they sent it to Cartagena, Spain, and it was immediately taken by the Bishop
Wow.
of Sevilla over to Sevilla. And then when he dies, it gets taken to Toledo in the mid 6th century, and it stayed there until the Muslim invasion in 711, and that's when they move it up to Asturias. And then they don't actually, surprisingly, don't open the chest and inventory the contents until the 11th century, and that's when
Wow.
it gets written. So
That is wild.
yeah, and
E
there's pollen evidence for that whole trail. There's pollen from each of those places on the
Is that
trail.
right?
Yeah, just like the shroud has pollen evidence from northern Italy, southern France, the area around Constantinople, the area and Turkey in general, because it was probably in Edessa before that, which is now Sanli Urfa, and the area around Jerusalem. And most of the pollen is actually from the area around Jerusalem.
That is wild.
Yeah, which fits the documentary evidence totally for the shroud. It's pretty
Wow.
amazing, and that's stuff you can't fake.
Right. Wow. So the written documents of this bishop matches the even the pollen. You could pick up evidence of pollen from these areas that it was in as they were trying to preserve it so that it
Yeah,
wouldn't get stolen or raided.
that's right.
That is wild.
Yeah.